Thank you as always to those of you who are supporting the channel on Patreon, including the big patrons of the month, the Nerd Therapist, and Jack the Loudred. Thank you. Hello, Pokemon Masters, Berkey here, and welcome back to what is the next chapter in the world of the evolutionary tree of Pokemon life. Posted, by the way, because of the appearance of new Pokemon, is now on reduced, and whenever they are gone from the store, they're going to be gone forever. So you're interested in getting one of these versions, you can get it, link below. As well as the all-new Team Snooze posters. Anyway, the evolutionary tree of Pokemon life is a big project that I took on last year, mapping out where every single Pokemon links together, how they are related to each other, if they are all they've all come from Mew, what is the ancestry of all Pokemon, and now we are here in the Galar region, discovering all new Pokemon for the first time. Naturally, I'm going to talk about the 8 that appeared in the new video, and I know you might be thinking, hang on, there were only 6 in the new video, but if you're paying attention to the background details, as I always try to, and as people tweet me, so I'm not going to take all the credit for myself, I get a little bit for myself. Well, than me. There are 8 Pokemon that I want to talk about, and I want to talk about exactly where they're going to be on the tree. And for a lot of these Pokemon, they are the early Pokemon, so there is no real mystery. Of course, if you're thinking any of these are wrong, I do want to hear about it in the comments, absolutely. This is about building a picture, so at the end of the year, we can get the full picture, the full evolutionary tree as accurate as possible. Now, for now, let's take a look at the first candidate, Wooloo. It's a sheep. It's a sheep, boy. Wooloo is very obviously a sheep, and it is adorable. And by the way, how do I rate it? Very highly. Do I prefer it to Mareep? I can't make that kind of claim yet. Mareep is a very good Pokemon. But it, like its almost definite cousin Mareep, they are both sheep. And this, of course, makes them both mammals. Now, it's worth noting here that Wooloo is probably a pre-evolution, and it might evolve into something drastically different. If it suddenly sprouts wings and becomes a part dragon type, well then, it's no longer going to be next to Mareep on the evolutionary tree. Although then again, Mareep did actually become a dragon and it's still there. So the typing isn't everything, but looking at it structurally, it is a sheep. Now, the next Pokemon I want to take a look at are Gossifleur and Eldergloss. These Pokemon are clearly plant-based. Now, plants in the world of Pokemon work a little bit differently to plants in the human world because the Pokemon world still has trees and conventional plants. They would have evolved very similar to how they did in our world, but plant Pokemon, they're actual creatures, actual animals. I suspect they split off from a lineage that came from Cradilly a long time ago. The living plant Pokemon. And these Pokemon, looking at the pre-evolution, initially reminded me of like Comfey or Flabébé, some kind of fairy living plant thing. It's definitely related to that area of Pokemon, but I would actually most likely, based on its final evolution, place it closer to Whimsicott. It appears to be a giant dandelion spore, and what is Whimsicott? It's a giant spore of some kind, a cotton spore. So my thoughts is that it is probably closest related to Whimsicott. Drednaw. I love this Pokemon, and currently I'm thinking I will absolutely be getting it on my adventure. Drednaw is awesome. It is a snapping tortoise. So who else have we got that are tortoises? Well, we've got the Blastoise line and the Torkoal line. I did have the Lapras line in with this part of the evolutionary tree, although I've decided to move Lapras. It is more of a Plesiosaur, so it'll be moved in later renditions of the tree. However, that's not just because Lapras has fins, because tortoises and turtles are very closely related. And there is a big snapping turtle, of course, Tortuga and its evolution Caracosta. Now, interestingly here, Tortuga and Caracosta are both offshoots of an earlier beta design of a Pokemon that kind of looks half Tortuga and half Drednaw to me. Like, I saw Drednaw and I thought it just reminded me of that. Looking at it closer, this gold and silver beta design that never came out, it's definitely more Tortuga in the head and everything else than it is Drednaw, but Drednaw is a very cool Pokemon and is definitely a tortoise. And given its water rock typing, if it is closer related to any of them, it is absolutely Caracosta. Corviknight, Flying Steel. I'm kind of surprised. I thought it would be part dark type. I was looking at this Pokemon and I'm racking my brains. I'm like, do we even have a crow Pokemon? I'm thinking of Skarmory, which is also steel flying. No, maybe Skarmory's more like a vulture. Is there anything more like a crow? It's definitely a bird, obviously. And birds are, of course, living dinosaurs. It will have descended from that same lineage, but then I realized, of course we have a crow. Murkrow, Honchkrow. We have crow Pokemon, and I think if this is closer related to any of them, probably more Honchkrow than Skarmory, but Skarmory actually is probably also pretty closely related. However, this Pokemon is probably a final evolution, and there is a pre-evolution, and I think it's seen in the trailer, and this is one of those hidden Pokemon I was talking about. And that crow is the bird that appears on the end of Professor Magnolia's walking stick. I actually think that is this Pokemon's pre-evolution, so that's one of the hidden ones. Now, we've got a few things left. Number one is the other hidden thing, and that is the new Rotom forms that appear in both the phone and then also the drone that appears in the gym stadiums. Rotom inherently apparently is still the same Pokemon, and where Rotom came from, where it's a spiritual Pokemon, and on the evolutionary tree, I don't really have an answer for that. Just is Pokemon, and it came from the realm of ghosts that's kind of briefly mentioned in the anime. But of course, its new forms are a phone and a drone, and that rhymes, and that's not an evolutionary thing. I want to make sure that I cover everything with this series. And then finally, of course, we have the 2 new legendary Pokemon. Prepare for mispronunciations. Zacian and Zamazenta. Zamazenta. Sword and Shield, I definitely think I prefer Zacian. I'm not sure at the moment. I haven't decided. Which one's your favorite, of course? Let me know. Who's winning this war right now? I think Sword's winning. Zamazenta just looks like it's wearing the cone of shame. It's just, it's got this thing that it can't, like, how's it gonna, it can't look round. Anyway, point is, these Pokemon are very clearly inspired by wolves. They are the legendary wolves of the region. And so immediately you might be thinking like Lycanroc, maybe they're related to that. However, these Pokemon are legendary Pokemon, and while some legends may be sprouted through evolutionary means, I suspect that given the nature of most of them, they're not just mutations of other wolves, there's something more magical, something more special. It's important to remember that Pokemon isn't an entirely biological species. There is also a magical component to it. They are made up of infinity energy. We also know that there's gods in the world of Pokemon. I suspect that Arceus created Giratina, Dialga, and Palkia. They created Mesprit, Azelf, and Uxie, and those Pokemon created Mew in their image, and then everything kind of diverted out from Mew. If you haven't seen it already, I would recommend watching the evolutionary tree. I have a whole theory about how Rienculus is the first cells that dropped off of Mew, allowing it to start with single-celled life and then spreading out biologically after that. But with these wolves, I suspect that they're not just wolves, or not wolves that were deceased and then resurrected, like the legendary beasts were. I suspect that they probably have a more magical origin. It'd be interesting to note, though, if their origin has anything to do with Keldeo, which is also a sword-wielding Pokemon. It has the exact same color scheme as the sword Pokemon here. I don't know, maybe there's a relationship, maybe not, but for that, we're going to have to learn a lot more about the Galar region and these Pokemon. So tell me what you're thinking about this episode of the evolutionary tree and these Pokemon and their placements. And if you'd like to know about the starter Pokemon, well, I did a video all on that, as well as other Pokemon that kind of appear in the region, like the big silhouette-y dragon thing, which I saw Noggin's tweet on that now, and there's this suspicion that the Pokemon on the hill might just be the first Pokemon using the Max evolution. Not evolution. I keep on saying evolution. Dynamax transformation. Let me know what you're thinking, and of course, soar high, Pokemon Masters.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master.